Don't call yourself an ARMY if you don't know this. Without warning, without spotlights, and without a single word of introduction, Jungkook stood at the center of a silent stage, starting a performance that shook the emotional foundation of BTS and left the entire arena in a tearful hush. What exactly was the youngest BTS member trying to convey in this performance? Why were Jin and Taehyung's expressions so hard to read yet so full of meaning? One thing is certain, this wasn't just a song, but an open confession unlike anything before. With only a microphone and soft lights from the ceiling, Jungkook sang verses that felt more like a personal letter than regular lyrics.
No choreography.
No visual effects.
No accompanying instruments.
Every note and word came straight from his emotional core, aimed not only at fans, but clearly directed toward BTS members, especially Jin, Taehyung, and Jimin. The lyrics held apologies, gratitude, and expressions that had never been publicly spoken. The audience, including backstage staff and crew, froze. No one made a sound. Even BTS members who usually managed to maintain composure seemed lost for words. Jin, known as the oldest brother figure, stable and humorous, was speechless. His eyes were red, as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. At one moment, he looked down, covering his face with his hands, as if trying to contain an unbearable emotional shock. Meanwhile, Taehyung, who often hides his emotions behind a calm face and elegant posture, stood transfixed. His gaze was blank toward the stage, his body barely moved. But from the trembling of his fingers and the gradual change in expression, it was clear. This wasn't indifference. This was a hard struggle to contain something much deeper, perhaps regret, perhaps a silent acknowledgement of wounds never spoken. On the other hand, Jimin seemed unable to hide his emotions from the very first line. Tears streamed down his face endlessly, even before the song reached its climax. He covered his mouth, trying to suppress sobs, but his body trembled. No one said anything. No one tried to stop him. That moment became proof that not all wounds can be healed by time. Some can only be eased through admission and honesty. Jungkook seemed to uncover the layers of their relationship that had long appeared harmonious, but held hidden pain. He sang about guilt for becoming distant, about not being present enough during crucial moments, about the fear of losing the bond that raised him. He didn't mention their names directly, but every word and note clearly pointed to the figures who had been his life pillars. The audience listened, but Jin and Taehyung felt it. This was a moment that couldn't be scripted or rehearsed. This was emotional truth exploding before thousands, and forever etched into the collective memory of ARMY. As the lights dimmed and Jungkook's final note faded, the entire room sank into silence.
No applause. No cheers.
Just a heavy, meaningful quiet. In the darkness, Jin slowly stood, walked to the stage, and hugged Jungkook in silence. No words, no direction, no cameras staging the moment. Just an embrace that embodied all the journeys, misunderstandings, and healing finally finding its way. Taehyung followed afterward, wordlessly, without a smile. He stood behind them, gently patting Jungkook's back. A small gesture, but deeply meaningful. A silent acknowledgement that he, too, had heard, was hurt, and forgave. Many fans interpreted the performance as a form of reconciliation after difficult times, be it military service pauses, career pressures, or emotional distance that once felt real. But whatever the actual context, one thing is clear. This wasn't just a show. It was a rare open healing process, almost never seen in the tightly controlled and structured world of Korean entertainment. On social media, ARMY around the world reacted instantly. Many confessed they couldn't rewatch the video without crying. Some even said this was the most honest moment they had ever witnessed from BTS, more touching than any documentary, deeper than any song lyrics. What was even more striking was that not only fans felt emotionally connected, even staff watching backstage reportedly cried. Some of them, who had worked with BTS for years, called this performance the most human moment in the group's entire history. Not because of its drama, but because of Jungkook's courage to stand alone and express his emotional truth. the final words heard before the lights went completely out shook the arena once again. "I will never forget what you've given me." That sentence, whispered, barely audible, struck the hearts of everyone present that night. A promise, a thank you, and an emotional farewell from the side of Jungkook that had long been hidden behind a grand stage, in a world increasingly accustomed to image building and narrative control. What Jungkook did that night was a brave act. He exposed himself before thousands of eyes, without filters, without safety nets, and with only sincerity as his anchor. He didn't just sing, he revealed wounds. And in doing so, he reunited the pieces of a bond once fractured. Jin and Taehyung's reactions marked that their connection wasn't just about being in a group or doing a job, it was family. And just like in a family, sometimes what's needed is only the courage to speak truth and the sincerity to listen to each other. That night, no one went home with the same heart, including BTS members, including fans, including Jungkook himself. But after the emotional thunderstorm that shook the stage began to fade, a fundamental question started to arise among observers, viewers, and even some loyal fans. Did we just witness an authentic moment from Jungkook and the BTS members? Or was this a deliberately crafted narrative meant to stir sympathy and rekindle global media attention on the group? When emotions this strong are displayed publicly, especially by a figure like Jungkook, known for guarding his privacy so tightly, doubts begin to emerge. As videos of the performance spread across platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and fan communities, many began to wonder, was this truly a heartfelt outpouring or an emotional production carefully orchestrated by a creative team behind the scenes? This question isn't meant to undermine the emotional value that felt so real to so many. But in a globally structured entertainment world driven by public expectations, such performances deserve deeper examination. Where is the line between reality and narrative? Was Jin and Jungkook's hug truly spontaneous, or scripted as a long-planned symbol of reconciliation designed to evoke collective emotion? Of course, no one can doubt that Jungkook is a figure full of emotional depth. But let's reflect. How could a performance this deep happen without any leaks beforehand? No teaser, no promo, and no follow-up explanation? Isn't the entertainment industry known for carefully planning even the most accidental moments? In a society flooded with information every second, we're caught in a paradox. We crave honesty, but are also easily swept up by sensationalism. Viewers cried watching the video, got emotional, even made deep analyses of the members' body language. But how many of us asked, where did this video come from? Who posted it first? Was it a live broadcast or carefully edited? We must also consider our sources. Many clips circulating came from fan accounts, or even unknown accounts that went viral using dramatic music or overly emotional narration. In fact, some media quoting the moment didn't cite primary sources, but relied on social media comment transcripts. Is that enough to declare something as fact? Considering this, a bigger question arises. Who benefits from the viral spread of this emotional performance? Is this part of the build-up toward BTS's next big project? Is this a narrative purposely created to divert public attention from other issues rising in South Korea's entertainment industry? Of course, not all speculation is truth. But precisely for that reason, it's important to maintain critical thinking. Fans, or anyone watching this moment, have the right to feel emotions, but also the responsibility not to swallow every piece of information whole. Are Jimin's tears truly a form of uncontainable grief, or part of an artistic interpretation of the song? Are you sure that Jin's hug for Jungkook wasn't the result of editing or a spliced moment from another time arranged to trigger dramatic effect? We also need to highlight that the information presented in this article comes from various open platforms, including TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. None of those sources can be considered official verification. Therefore, we strongly urge readers not to take this article as an absolute representation of reality. Instead, we invite you to discuss, why are we so quick to believe emotional moments? Is it because we've longed for genuine intimacy from public figures? Or has the digital world made us vulnerable to heart-stirring narratives without strong proof? It's possible that Jungkook's performance was completely sincere, with no manipulation at all. It might be the result of long-suppressed emotional eruption. But we must not turn a blind eye to the possibility that the modern entertainment industry has extraordinary mechanisms in shaping public perception, even through moments that seem the most honest. Thus, we close this article with an open reflection. What did you feel after watching Jungkook's performance? Were you moved by the truth you sensed? Or did you feel manipulated by a mood and narrative carefully shaped? These questions are not meant to corner anyone. Rather, this is an invitation to be wise viewers, not only touched, but also thoughtful. Because in a world where the line between fact and fiction grows ever blurrier, the ability to ask questions is the most important form of courage.